Hello everyone. If you're a fan of the rumble of metal and the raw power of heavy machinery, this compilation is right up your alley. We put together clips of accidents at major factories and with heavy equipment, and we can't wait to share them with you. Let's get it up. Few things are more destructive than the molten metal splattering everywhere. Watch as workers at this steel plant are shocked when a malfunction causes molten steel to pour onto the workshop floor. The temperature was over 1,000 degrees Celsius, but despite the danger, workers filmed the entire incident instead of running to safety. Towing a 400-ton crane is not exactly a Sunday stroll, and as this video from Venezuela shows, all seems cool until the crane hits this small hill. The driver of the truck lost control, and the whole operation turned into a wild, uncontrollable ride. Imagine a long sheet of red-hot steel at very high speeds suddenly losing its intended path. Such uncontrolled mass can smash into machinery, rupture pipes, or even break through safety barriers and cause destruction in a matter of seconds. A wind turbine in northern Texas caught fire after lightning struck one of its blades. Firefighters who arrived at the scene couldn't put out the blaze, and onlookers were left watching the mesmerizing smoke rings until the turbine was completely destroyed. The raw material fed into the furnace in this incident had not been checked for proper inspection and cause of the entry of water into the furnace along with the metal charge. The moment the extreme heat of the furnace touched the water, the quick process of vaporization started. The pressure in this furnace, in a matter of seconds, builds up to the critical limit, leading to a massive explosion. The smelting furnace is loaded with wet material, which is a dangerous thing. This time, the scrap metal was soaked with rain and didn't get dried. A disastrous explosion happened inside the furnace. As a snowstorm occurred, a China Airlines cargo plane lost its control in Chicago International Airport and headed to the baggage area. One of its engines ingested a baggage cart. Of course, it was seriously damaged. Fortunately, nobody got injured. Calculation error in China's Mafia Gang wharf sent the ship loaded with sand into collision against the wharf and overturned a large rail crane on top of that into the water. In fact, this accident was dramatic and costly too. During the construction of one bridge, a critical failure involved a crane that was used to lift heavy loads, which collapsed due to an excessively heavy load. It shows the limitations even the most technically advanced machines have. And on this Greek freighter, the anchor failure made one of its chains unfurl at fantastic speed and with sparks and fire. Then the chain whips out of control and the anchor hurtles into the bottom below. This fiery circumstance is a beautiful yet dangerous incident that happens during the hot rolling of metal. Such an incident is known as cobbling. It can happen, for example, when the molten metal exits the rolling mill incorrectly, creating chaotic loops around. Cobbling is particularly hazardous at high rolling speeds. Watch as a top drive of the rig falls to the well in a fraction of a second. What could be the probable reason? Worn-out cables. Accidents of this kind are a grim reminder that day-to-day hazards are an accompanying fact with heavy industry. This dramatic explosion is the result of extinguishing a fire in a container of petroleum products with a mixture of fire-suppressant powder and carbon dioxide. The powder cools the fire area and has an inhibiting effect, while the CO2 quickly displaces the oxygen, allowing the fire to be put out in under a minute. A dump truck serving a construction project drove under an overhead power line and generated an electric arc. The intense heat associated with the arc triggered the explosive expansion of the truck's tires. In New Zealand, due to malfunctioning of a control system, the turbine wind blades oversped. This overspeeding caused such immense heat that resulted in a fire. Due to this fire and mechanical tension, the tower of the turbine collapsed and caused massive damage. A billboard collapse caused heavy congestion in traffic when a small crane was insufficient to lift and remove debris. This caused a blockage of the road. This is the worst industrial accident in history that took place during renovation at the Houlo power plant in the Netherlands, when a crane malfunctioned while lifting a 70-ton gas turbine. The failure resulted in catastrophically valued damage estimated at $8.2 million. Poor judgment by a crane operator in estimating his boom's reach while dismantling workshop equipment caused the crane to topple. But fortunately, the load was safely lowered despite the accident. Accidental uncoupling is one of the most common kinds of train accidents. This dashcam captured a number of cars that broke free, traveling at full speed down the track in derailment and destruction, crashing into parked cars on top. The powerful tornado in Illinois caught the moving train with a powerful wind and caused massive derailment. Several of the carts were derailed by strong winds of the tornado, whereas the rest were thrown with power into the locomotive. The video of an electric arc furnace in action demonstrates both an impressive and dangerous process in the industry. With temperatures of the working zone up to 1,800 degrees Celsius, this furnace reveals what huge conditions are necessary for melting and processing metals. A crane that was being demolished suddenly collapsed in Romania onto some parked cars that were standing nearby, destroying them on the spot. This dramatically illustrates the dangers involved with demolitions that are poorly planned. A barge that was passing under the bridge barely did not hit its clearance limit, having only several centimeters to spare. That near miss shows how tight the tolerances are and how accurately such vessels must be navigated. During one of the drilling rig operations, there was a severe accident. A cable that supported the hoisting gear simply failed and brought down the hoisting gear. Fortunately, the workers operating the rig detected the malfunction well in advance and cleared the site in time, so nobody got hurt. A dramatic tension cable failure collapse of a crane at a South Korean factory construction site illustrates well what can happen as a result of such failures. The way the crane fell really shows how important it is to keep tension cables maintained and inspected to preserve their integrity. A construction truck being offloaded from a Chinese cargo ship at a San Francisco port fell onto the ship's deck when the winches failed during the process. The truck weighed 55 tons. The collapse of an oil rig on a floating platform in the Persian Gulf. That time when the accident was caused by something totally ridiculous. It looks like the driver forgot that he was driving a car carrier instead of a regular sedan and tried to go under a bridge. He only realized his mistake when the pickup truck that he was transporting was crushed against the concrete. What a reckless thing to do. A serious incident occurred during the construction of a sports shoe factory in Indonesia. A large metal structure, intended to be the frame for a future workshop, collapsed within seconds. It appears that design flaws caused the structure to fail under its own weight. If you're careless, problems tend to appear as if from thin air. Putting such heavy machinery next to the trench was a reckless move. When the automation system fails during metalworking, it looks like a portal to another world.